Part 104. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1034. Uncle, you are back. The big girl threw herself into Jia Yan's arms, hugging Jia Yan tightly with her small body. It was obvious how much she loved Jia Yan. Luan Mobile Network. Another little girl about 10 years old also laughed happily and came to Jia Yan and rushed over. They are Jia Yan's two older nieces. Kikai looks like an adult again, and she seems to be more beautiful than her mother. It would be right to say that she is a beautiful girl goddess now. And Ruruo has also grown from a naive little girl to a loli who looks like a little girl. She is almost as naughty as her sister was when she was a child. In the back, Jia's parents and Jia Lin's couple were also watching. Jia Yan also met Satsamakan and Jia Rong. The two were a little happy to see Jia Yan return. It could be seen that the relationship between the two parties had become better. Haha, the incident just now is really dangerous. I have already explained that in the future, battleship training cannot be carried out near the Earth. The only ones who can get close are the battleship personnel of us Earthlings with several years of driving experience. Jia Yan said lightly. Uncle, if you are not afraid, Uncle will come. Xiaoruruo didn't know where she felt Jia Yan's greatness. Now holding Jia Yan, she almost died of pride. Humph, who was crying just now, although Kikai was a bit older than her younger sister, she still fought and quarreled with her. I'm not crying. Sister, you are evil. Look at my brain waves. When Xiao Rongrong saw Jia Yan tearing her down, she immediately became angry. A small stone flew up from her side, and then hit Jia Qi's direction. You still want to fight my sister with your little strength, but I am the most powerful genius among all the people on earth. Jia Qi showed a mocking expression, and then in a flash, he knocked the stone to the ground. Jia Rong refused to accept it and rushed forward to fight with his sister with his small fists. Brother, don't worry about them. These two guys are like this. They fought and cried and fought, and then reconciled. Jia Lin stepped forward, shook her head and smiled at Jia Yan. Everyone around seemed to be used to this scene. Haha, just like when we were kids. You cried every time, and then I was unlucky. Jia Yan laughed. I didn't, Jia Lin blushed immediately. After all, she was the mother of two eldest children. She felt quite embarrassed when her brother told them about her childhood in front of them. Okay, you brothers and sisters are still fighting each other at this age. Let's go in and talk. Xiao Yan, you can stay a little longer this time. As if mentioning the past events, the two old men fell into memories, and then looked at Jia Yan with softer eyes. After all, no matter what happened to his son, he was still his son. Even if he became stronger, he still felt the same as his son when he spoke now. In fact, among the Jia family, there is some feeling that Jia Yan's secrets are kept secret, because before, Jia Yan's performance was too outstanding. In their opinion, Jia Yan was too strong and a patron saint. Ordinary children are completely different. But now it seems that Jia Yan is still Jia Yan, just a little stronger. Okay, let's go in and talk. Jia Yan entered his parents' house with his family. Satsamakan and his son Jia Rong, who were behind him, hesitated for a moment, while Jia Yan sighed and turned around. You two come too, he said to the two of them. Yes, Satsuma-chan didn't mean to be too surprised. He just smiled and followed into the house. Over the years, she has slowly become more and more like an earth woman, but her face never ages. She is so beautiful that it seems fake, completely different from others. Of course, it's okay to say it's fake, after all. The debugged body. And her identity as a biochemical empire seems to be a hurdle in Jia Yan's mind that he cannot overcome. On the other hand, Jia Rong, the more he got to know his father, the more he loved and hated him. Because he has understood how terrifying his father is. Before, he thought that he was just a sage. His mother also said that there were sages in the biochemical empire back then. But during this period of time, Jia Yan shone brightly throughout the Orion arm, which made the child understand how terrifying his father really was. You must know that the Venerable was almost instantly in front of him. Just die, even the terrifying sublevels from the outside world will still be defeated by his father's fist. It is already said that Jia Yan is the strongest in the entire Orion arm. He remembered that when he was a child, he had a temper with Jia Yan and said that he wanted to surpass Jia Yan. At this moment, Jia Rong, who was still stuck at the top of the heaven level, was a little depressed. It seemed that even if this idea could be realized, it would not be a matter of time. He also secretly admired Jia Yan, but also hated him, so he looked at Jia Yan with no idea of his emotions. This night, Jia Yan reunited with his family again. Even though he spent more time focusing on his clone, he was still running around in Orion's arms, and he still didn't have much time to reunite with his family. So this kind of time is extremely precious, especially for the two elders. Although they look younger and younger now, their mentality is still that of an old man in his 60s or 70s. The old man doesn't want much, and he doesn't want his son to be so powerful. He just needs to spend more time with himself. Of course, this is because the mentality has not changed yet. The medical level of the people on Earth has improved by leaps and bounds recently. With the help of the medical level of the Asta Empire and Rulandagang, the expected lifespan has reached more than 150, and then recently a group of medical professionals from the Great Empire were contacted, and they gave the answer. Because they were genetically similar to the main races of the Great Empire, the people on Earth could directly use their ready-made medicines to extend their lifespan to about 250 years. Compared to 250 years old, 60 or 70-year-olds are like young adults, and there is no need to worry about signs of aging. It's just that people on Earth cannot change their way of thinking for the time being. Only when people over 100 years old find that they can still run and jump, their hair is getting darker and darker, and they are so energetic that they want to fight a bear, then they will understand. What did the alien lifespan technology bring to them? Of course Jia Yan would not say such words to refuse contact with his family, and he didn't know what was going on recently. He looked at his son Jia Rong and seemed to like him, so he wanted to spend more time with him. Treat. Well, maybe I'm too old. Jia Yan sighed longly, but no, with his mosquito body and human body, he was already a man of several decades. Now that he saw his sister and his daughter growing up, he would inevitably have some strange thoughts in his heart. Perhaps it would be good for the son to admit it himself? Jia Yan was really thinking seriously. But if you want to acknowledge the son, how will you resolve the issue with Satsuma Temple? Jia Yan has one head and two heads. Satsumakan seems to have a pair of eyes full of wisdom that can see through Jia Yan's thoughts. Don't worry, I told you, we have a long lifespan, I can wait. She didn't know why, but she suddenly sent a message to Jia Yandao. Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, then picked up the wine glass, saluted her from a distance, and drank a drink. Satsuma smiled brightly, like a flower in full bloom. If it had been any other man, he would have been distracted and shouted that he couldn't stand it anymore. But Jia Yan understood her identity and what she was like before. However, she also once said that she is a perfect genetic creature. Even if she is adjusted to look like a human on Earth, it is not a random one, but a normal gene fragment automatic generation technology. In other words, if she is as a human on Earth, even though he looks so perfect, he still feels as beautiful as when he was a white monster. After thinking a lot, Jia Yan felt that his heart had changed when he came back this time. Maybe it's because I'm under a lot of pressure, or maybe I've been alone for a really long time, and I want to change, especially because I long for my own family and real heirs. If I think too much, am I really drunk? Jia Yan shook the wine glass in his hand. If the wine is not drunk, everyone will get drunk. That's all. As Satsuma Kono said, they are all powerful creatures with a lot of time. They have at least a lifespan of more than 1,000 years, so they can't compete with this little time. A night of silence. The next day, Jia Yan arranged a meeting with Earth officials. Now the Earth is changing even faster, and the entire accelerated speed has caused a lot of discomfort. You must know that not all civilizations can evolve at the same speed as the Earth. First, it took a few years to absorb a certain amount of technology from the Asta and Rulan empires, and now things from the big empires are coming. This is a stage jump, even if the people on Earth, no matter how terrible it is, no matter how terrible the ability to accept it is impossible to accept it immediately. Therefore, the reform must be deepened into the details. People on Earth are inexperienced at this point, and there are some things that require Jia Yan, the most powerful protector of the Earth, to speak, otherwise no one will abide by it. For example, people on Earth are now strictly prohibited from using and importing some extremely high-tech pleasure equipment. Even people on Earth would not be willing to do so. Who wants to suffer and be tired when they can live a relaxed life? But that is inconsistent with the development trajectory of the Earth. If we enjoy it, the entire civilization will stagnate, and the future will only be destruction. Therefore, it is necessary to ban it, and it is most acceptable for Jia Yan to come forward and say it. Others are similar, such as tax reform, extending the retirement age, explaining to the Earth's people the current lifespan, and so on. In short, this kind of change in deep water areas would never be possible without Jia Yan. Also, look for the bookstore next. My positioning of the Earth is the business model, because in terms of technology and even humanities, we are not as good as other civilizations, and if we create a business model, the Earth can slowly develop myself instead of relying on my solo influence. During the meeting, Jia Yan raised the issue of his own definition of the Earth's future period with others. I agree, the business model, this is the most suitable positioning for my planet now, maybe it can quickly create a different situation. Master Jia Yan is indeed very insightful. Why didn't we think of it? As expected of Lord Jia Yan, just do it. Wow, many brothers really gave generous rewards today, thank you. Thanks to Brother Crazy for the 10,000 starting coin reward, and for being promoted to the leader, thank you. In the next few days, I'm planning to do a third update to express my gratitude. Thanks. Thank you to the 1,500 starting coin rewards from Brothers Gonibu 1UP, and the 1,000 starting coin rewards from Brothers Uij and Sushin Duian. Thank you all. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1035. Male sign. Jia Yan's proposal was naturally flattered by everyone, and there was no objection at all. Moreover, the proposal was reasonable in the first place, so there was no resistance. First time, dear. Since then, the problem of the future positioning of the Earth has been solved, and that is commercial civilization. At least before technology catches up, the Earth developed like this. Otherwise, as a civilization praised to the sky by the great empire, if it does not catch up with the great empire within a few hundred years, it will be laughed to death. The barriers to commercial civilization are not high, and with Jia Yan as a factor, everyone will give him some face, so that he can get some benefits in the early stage. Of course, in the middle and later stages, it will not be so easy. No matter what, it's important to take the right first step. I happen to have some business matters to discuss with the great empire. This may be the beginning of our Earth's first foreign trade. Jia Yan said this and then said nothing more. The transaction with the great empire was naturally paid by him, and he wanted his own things. The Earth was involved just to increase the exposure rate. As for the content, Jia Yan has also thought about it. He wants to talk about the blood essence possessed by the great empire. That's right, When Jia Yan heard about this essence and blood thing that day, he had something in his heart. If this thing is so good for ordinary creatures, the effect on his true form, a genuine evolved beast, might be even worse. What about excellence? Others need star level to use it, so he might be able to use it reluctantly now. In this case, he doesn't know how much his strength can be improved. The essence and blood left behind by creatures hundreds of thousands of years ago are still useful. This is something that even Jia Yan can't imagine. But since it exists, no matter how useful it is now, he must find a way to get it. Within a few days, after discussing more detailed details with senior officials from various countries in the Earth Alliance, Jia Yan learned that the goods shipped by the Great Empire had arrived. Jia Yan has not forgotten his purpose of returning to Earth, which is to help Earth receive this batch of goods. In the starry sky in a distant place, cargo spaceships and battleships are slowly traveling in the starry sky. This cargo fleet is powerful in combat. Of course, even if it is not worthy of a single battleship, no one dares to come and rob it, because the force it belongs to is the well-deserved overlord of the entire Orion arm of the Great Empire. But in this fleet, groups of people gathered together, and they did not dare to underestimate the place they were going to reach next. Listen to me clearly. You are the representatives of my great empire's first visit to Earth civilization. Now be prepared for me. No matter how backward the Earth is, we can't laugh, let alone talk about their bad points. We the face of the great empire this time, and even the degree of friendship with this Earth civilization in the future, may be based on your personal performance. Do you understand? A human-like senior executive said these words in a very serious manner to every creature on the battleship in front of the big screen. Yes. All the soldiers and warriors of the great empire nodded in agreement with the same solemn expressions. They knew that their mission this time represented the first large-scale contact between the great empire and the Earth civilization. Regarding the Earth civilization, they only knew that this civilization was not powerful, and even only relied on a single person within the arms of Orion. Only with the existence of the top master Jia Yan can he gain status. They have been prepared for the Earth civilization for a long time, so they will not laugh when they see the backwardness of the Earth civilization. They said this, but when they entered the solar system and saw the surrounding stars and the temporary mining of planetary materials, their eyes widened. Oh my God! Although we have known for a long time that Earth civilization is backward, this is too far behind. Yes, I used to think that the Earth civilization was backward, just joking, but now it seems that it is not an exaggeration. Even other people's rumors are praising this Earth. They still use such an old-fashioned mining machine, and they haven't even entered the entire starry sky. Is this still the mother galaxy of the Earth civilization? They can't be indigenous people who have just entered the starry sky. The first cargo envoys from the great empire arrived in the solar system and were stunned by the scene around them. Within the Orion arm, there is a big difference between strong civilizations and weak civilizations. However, in fact, the big empire's technology and humanities are not very different from the second and third largest civilizations. It's just that the big empire has a larger territory. There are also many talents, so weapons and other things are at an overwhelming advantage. I originally thought that although the Earth civilization was backward, it might just be a civilization with a small civilization, but its technology already had some semblance. Looking at it now, it is a completely elementary civilization, even a little behind the general elementary civilization. Don't laugh, all of you. The strength of the Earth civilization is not due to technology and development. Let me stop smiling. If you cause trouble to affect the relationship between the two countries, you will be the sinners of my great empire. After hearing what their highest officer said, all the soldiers and civilians of the great empire suddenly did not dare to speak nonsense. But there is still talk in private. That is because they have determined that the Earth civilization relies on that Lord Jia Yan, who for some unknown reason in the Earth civilization is so powerful that he can compare with the two top powerhouses of the great empire. Otherwise, it might have been swallowed up by the surrounding civilization long ago and no bones will be left. Of course, they don't know that the Earth civilization has indeed encountered a similar scene, but the two civilizations that wanted to devour the Earth have already surrendered, and they are basically equivalent to the vassals of the Earth civilization. Shut up, the people from Earth civilization are coming. Huh? What? Mr. Jia Yan himself, this, really, we are really scared. When the leader of the entire cargo fleet just issued the order, he paused again, as if he had heard the reports of his subordinates. Then he excitedly shouted loudly to the live broadcast of the entire fleet. How lucky we are, did you hear that? For an ordinary envoy like us, Lord Jia Yan, one of the most powerful people in Orion's arm, actually came to greet us in person. It cheered me up. Before, be careful of those who speak ill of Earth civilization. Now it's Mr. Jia Yan himself. You should understand his identity and status and be careful not to say the wrong thing. After the top officer said such words, a group of soldiers also became commotion. Master Jia Yan personally. I'm really going to faint, Master Jia Yan. Isn't that the terrifying and powerful man who just showed off his power at the Kaowo defense line, killing a sub-level creature from the outside world, and scaring away another one? He actually came to meet us in person, am I dreaming? Yes, it is because of him that the Earth civilization has a very high status. I have even heard rumors that Master Jia Yan is actually the most powerful being in our Orion arm. The external creature in our great empire that Master Flame cannot defeat. When they saw Master Jia Yan rushing towards him, they all ran away. That's right, people like this come to meet us, and we will be proud of it for the rest of our lives. So we must keep up our spirits and show the spirit of the people of our great empire. The citizens of the great emperor can be disdainful of Earth civilization, but they would never dare to be disdainful of Jia Yan, who is a strong man. After all, even if the strong man in the arms of Orion is not strong, he is still strong. In a world of strong people, it is the nature of ordinary civilized people to respect the strong, and the people of the great empire are no exception. Looking at the fleet in front of me, which was getting closer and closer, I could see more clearly that the extremely shabby and backward Earth fleet rushed to their fleet at a speed that even the citizens of the great emperor thought was snail-like. Then the entire fleet saw it. A small figure flew out from a certain battleship of the opponent's Earth fleet. I am Jia Yan from Earth civilization. Welcome all the people of the great empire to our Earth civilization. The little figure said this to the fleet here calmly. Thank you Mr. Jia Yan for coming to meet us despite your busy schedule. Hello Mr. Jia Yan. Thank you for your visit, sir. One by one, the senior officials of the great empire's cargo warships responded with the same brainwave power. The other people stayed in the battleship respectfully, because they understood that this strong man could easily know their movements and even expressions through the power of brain waves. It's so scary. This gentleman actually has the power of brain waves. The entire cargo fleet can hear his voice. This is the demeanor of a top powerhouse. How virtuous and capable I am to be able to be interviewed by such a being in my lifetime. If I tell you, I will have something to talk about for the rest of my life. The people of the great empire in the ordinary cargo spacecraft were extremely impressed by the figure who appeared. They must know that this may be the most terrifying and powerful existence they have ever seen in their lives. The character who appeared was naturally Jia Yan. He came out to face the cargo fleet that the Earth welcomed on a large scale for the first time. Represented an attitude, a business attitude, and respect for the great empire. After all, Jia Yan alone cannot help Earth civilization in all aspects. It is impossible for the current Earth civilization to confront the great empire head-on. Even the other party understands this, so he will not worry about the influence of the Earth and will help in turn. It is necessary they are worried that the Earth will affect the great empire, which will be at least thousands of years later. By then, it is unclear whether Jiayan, the patron saint of the Earth people, will be there, and they will not worry about things in the future. And Jiayan expressed a friendly attitude, so the great empire will help those who can, and those who are unwilling to help, as long as they don't take advantage of him. In this case, this was Jiayan's original intention. The goods this time are all items that are extremely useful to people on Earth: construction aid materials, various industrial machines, medical equipment, and so on. Half a month later, before the fleet left, Jiayan boarded the superfast aircraft alone again and flew away from the Earth with a dignified expression. From the look on his face, you knew something was going on. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1036. How could it be possible? I've only been away from the defense line for such a period of time, and the defense line has actually been broken in 2 places. Something serious has happened. The top novels are updated the fastest. The expression on Jiayan's face was a little anxious. The aircraft flew extremely fast towards somewhere in the dark universe. It turned out that Jiayan was still communicating and negotiating with the senior leaders of several major empire fleets, but unexpectedly, he received an urgent contact from the Kaowo defense line of the major empire. Lord Jiayan, the defense line is urgently asking for help. 2 places have been destroyed. It's urgent. The communication only had this line of text, and it seemed as if there was no time to send out any more words. Jiayan didn't say much to the senior officials he met with. He apologized and quickly left the Earth in his aircraft. In the starry sky, Jiayan's expression calmed down a little, and he still shook his head. Now I'm too far away from the defense line. Far water can't save the nearby fire. They really can't defend themselves, so there's nothing they can do. Jiayan rushed there now. No matter how fast the aircraft was, it would still take more than half a month. He has adjusted the aircraft to its ultimate speed, but it still takes more than 10 days. After all, it is more than 100 light-years away. Well, if something happens to the barrier when I rush to it, then I will have to think of other ways out, such as transferring all the people on Earth out of the Orion arm, but this kind of thing will not take more than a few years. It's been a problem for 10 years, maybe my avatar will have to protect the entire human race from evacuating until we find a suitable place to live. It's better not to use this method unless it's a last resort. There are too many surprises. Jiayan was very fast and approached the defensive line. Taking advantage of this time, Jiayan returned his spirit to his true body. Master Jiayan, you are back. It just so happened that his thoughts turned back to his true body when he returned to Tingtian Pavilion. Zibala seemed to have been sure of his return for a long time and was waiting outside the star. Seeing this skinny female alien, Jiayan couldn't help but smile at her even though he was in a bad mood. Hello Ziba, long time no see. Sir, I'm not good at it. It's really hard to study what you gave me. I still called a few good friends to help me, and I was able to get a rough idea. Zibala complained bitterly to Jiayan. Jiayan comforted her a few words, and then hurriedly asked about the other party's progress. We have a general idea, but there may be problems in making the actual object. If you are willing to accept the risk, we can start work immediately. Zibala didn't know why Jiayan was so anxious to make the ultra-long ejection device. In fact, it's not that she doesn't understand the advantages and disadvantages of this device. She even thought about something similar a long time ago, but in fact this kind of thing is not very useful, because it is safer to transmit small things, but this it is useless to send things very far. If a large object is ejected and transported, the pressure on the object during flight will be too great, and the body may fall apart. She is now worried that Jia Yan wants to teleport herself, which is too dangerous. As for the risk, I have also studied the information you showed me before. Now I really need it urgently. I think I can bear the pressure. Just start taking action. Jia Yan thought for a while and then said to her. He didn't want to take any risks, but the war situation in the Orion arm was too urgent. If it was really necessary, his true body could only rush away. But after rushing there, he had to find a way to get back to the genius battlefield. The cultivation environment here was so good, and he still wanted to achieve star level here. When the time came to rush back, it would be thousands of light years away, and he would be in trouble again. But we'll talk about this later. Okay, sir, I think your body seems to be unique. Maybe you are not afraid of the pressure. Then I will go and get to work. Zibala didn't even introduce a few friends to Jia Yan, so he hurried back to Tingtianga planet to conduct research. Although she takes money very seriously, she is still willing to help her friends, and she now understands that Jia Yan's strength and methods really seem to exceed her imagination. Originally, she only regarded Jia Yan as an idol, but she didn't value his actual strength that much. But before she heard that Jia Yan was able to escape calmly in front of her father, and even threatened her Lakiao power alone, she was already surprised. But after arriving at Tingtian Pavilion, she was really shocked, because in this dark realm, the news had gone crazy. The MOK nicknamed by Master Jia Yan was actually so famous that the whole dark realm was shocked. All the forces were extremely afraid of him. As for his record, Ziba almost fainted when he told her that he single-handedly wiped out the entire disciple group, which also included a high-level talent at the semi-star level. You should know that this was the same level as her father. No wonder Jia Yan is not afraid of his father. In this case, she is working hard to form a good relationship with Lakiao. If Jia Yan is asked to help in the future, he will be willing to do so. Jia Yan saw that Zibala cared so much about his own affairs, and he became even more satisfied with this female alien creature. This friend, he really had no fault with. The friends he made in the past were more or less awkward at first, which resulted in Jia Yan not having any friends that he considered particularly good. However, Zibala was different. He felt very comfortable with such friends. Zibala would really like to have them in the future. If Jia Yan offers help or something, he will definitely not refuse. The clones on the left and right didn't arrive so quickly, and Jia Yan returned to the stone house of the general power of Tingtian Pavilion. He is already very famous in this dark realm. In the previous war in the dark realm, some forces wanted to blame Jia Yan, but no one else dared to confront Tingtian Pavilion head-on. You must know that Jia Yan's strength can make the disciple group almost destroyed now. The body of the headquarters of the disciple regiment has changed hands. The scattered fleets and strong men have either died in battle or changed their names and become members of other forces. It can be said that they are almost scattered. Although all of this was caused by powerful men from various major forces, in fact everyone gave this credit to Jia Yan. Those who are afraid of him are even more afraid, and conversely, those who admire him are even more adoring. At least now there is no force that dares to confront and insult the people in Tingtian Pavilion. Therefore, the existences of Tingtian Pavilion have been arrogant when they go out recently. Although they are all at the second level, they are not empty at all when facing the mid-level talent and half-star level. Sir, these are the supplies that were delivered recently. I deducted the share you said you would give us, and left the rest unchanged. I left it to you. In the stone house, the sub-Guan level subordinate who was named by Jia Yan to be responsible for Tingtian Pavilion affairs respectfully reported to Jia Yan. Very good, it seems that you are a character. Jia Yan was very satisfied. Of course, if you can become a sub-level or even come to the genius battlefield, Every creature can do similar things well, otherwise it would not be possible. Called a genius. Thank you for the compliment, sir, the other party said happily. After praising him for a few words, Jia Yan ordered him to step aside. Jia Yan picked through a pile of supplies, found some energy substances, secreted condensation, and absorbed part of it. This absorption is the absorption of cells on the body surface. In addition to the power of brain waves, the cells on his body slowly absorb more and more energy. When the power of brain waves cannot be increased, the cells gifted by the evolved beast absorb energy. To some extent, it still made him continue to become stronger. Hey, master, you can actually use your cells to absorb power. What a terrifying talent. Just as Jia Yan absorbed the power, the small light and shadow mosquito jumped out of Jia Yan's body. Just like the previous light and shadow seniors, Edisha can also transform into a body and stay with Jia Yan, but this is as dangerous as the light and shadow seniors. Death is a possibility at any time. Of course, by Jia Yan's side, now he won't have to take care of Jia Yan like Senior Guangying. It's Jia Yan's turn to take care of this little thing. As long as he is here, he will not hurt this little guy. He will even be as generous as Senior Guangying. Life protection. Haha, I only discovered this recently. Tell me, if I use this power together with the brainwave power to hit the star level threshold, will it make my promotion time much earlier? Jia Yan looked over and asked while absorbing the energy gathered from the condensation. Well, Editha, think about it carefully. After thinking for a long time, it said with some uncertainty, Master, I don't know anymore. Now you are practicing according to the method taught by the previous master. This method of cultivation is possible at the venerable level to become a permanent master. There are many stars, but there is a lot of chance of failure. Logically speaking, with the help of other sources of power, it is more likely to pass the level, but I am not sure what will happen. Master, please be careful. I see. Jia Yan knew that its answer would be like this. After all, it was an auxiliary artificial intelligence that always spoke in the most conservative way. Even if it looked like a human being, it was still just a machine. Of course, Jia Yan didn't really regard it as a machine. After all, to a certain extent, the other party still had some shadow of an intelligent creature. In short, the innate cellular energy of the evolved beast opened up a new world for Jia Yan. Originally, he and Edisha had judged this way. He wanted the Venerable to be directly promoted to the stars. But before that, his strength was at most in the genius battlefield. He could defeat the top geniuses of the Venerable level and compete with the inferior level. There is still a gap between the existence of high-level talents. But now that he has the battle armor, and as he becomes more and more powerful, it won't be long before he will be assisted by cellular power equivalent to starry sky level power, and his strength will be superimposed. By then, even without the battle armor, he will be able to compete with there might even be a battle between Guan level high level geniuses. Plus the battle armor and 2 black holes. I once said that my current combat power may be invincible among geniuses in the genius battlefield. I am not lying. If you have a chance, you can go to a genius battle challenge in a certain central star region to check it out. I just don't know. Can I sign up with equipment like mine? Dang, dang, dang. Congratulations on the birth of the first alliance leader in this book. The miserable Aquarius brothers have successfully become a starry beast. From now on I command the world to do anything but me. In order to express my gratitude to my brothers, I will give you my 4th update tomorrow. The 4th update of 12,000 words is not the 2,000 words for one chapter. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1037. First update. Top novels are updated the fastest. Jia Yan had complete trust in his real body's strength, and unknowingly, it had reached such a terrifying level. Okay, I'd better not think so much. My real body is cultivating here in Tingtian Pavilion. Here in the cell power, I feel that I can at least swallow matter to reach the peak of starry sky level. The next step is the bottleneck period. Before that, I haven't even left the house yet, waiting for news about Z-Bala's ultra-long-distance space catapult. Jia Yan has decided where to put his main energy in the future. I'd better put most of my energy into the clone. I can also check the information on the way. Letting his true body swallow up the energy material, Jia Yan put his mental power towards the clone. Another urgent report. The clone was still on the road, but as soon as he came out of space to cultivate the aircraft, Jia Yan discovered that the aircraft had received a letter. This letter was another request for help. It said that the losses were heavy and that Lord Flame was hit hard again. Well, it turns out that the barrier was not broken, but was used by the other party in some way to keep the space open for a long time. Jia Yan was slightly relieved after seeing the news inside. As long as the entire barrier area is not opened, and even half-star level experts come in, other than these, he is sure to resist any sub-level existence that comes in. Jia Yan's inside tried to transmit linkage energy before, but it was not successful. Presumably Taia Kingdom has not yet completed the linkage transmission machine. This kind of thing is like the ultra-long distance ejection that Z-Bala is doing. There is no need to rush the device. Therefore, the current clone is still in a semi-disabled state and does not have much energy. Fortunately, there is a small black hole. Although it is much smaller than the two on the real body, and there is no space stone for stability and control, so the effect will be poor, but it can at least enhance the strength of my clone several times. The aircraft was like a beam of light, heading towards the edge of the Orion arm. The angle of view is placed at the edge of Orion's arm. Here, there is a defense base that appears every 1 or several light years. Although the total number of troops on the defense line is very considerable, when it is actually deployed over an extremely long area, it is insignificant. The respective bases are almost all fighting independently. Some bases have even been destroyed for a long time, and other bases are not known yet. On this day, inside the defense base of a certain place where destiny was made. Listen up, those bastards outside have been attacking us more frequently recently, so we have to be careful here. In the central command post of the base, a general who looked like a carefree bald man said this to his subordinates. This general is a member of the Great Empire. He looks similar to the people on Earth, but his strength has reached the upper stage of the starry sky, which can be regarded as a very powerful existence. But the subordinates around him were not so full of fighting spirit after hearing the words of the bald man. To ordinary soldiers, external creatures are almost synonymous with death. They are so strong that almost every time they appear, they are not weaker than the venerable level ones. You must know that a venerable level existence can destroy a base casually. In this Kawo defense line, only people who heard that the enemy could not stay in the arms of Orion for a long time and left by themselves rarely heard of it. What enemy is killed by a certain base? What are you afraid of? We also have strong men in Orion's arms, such as Lord Jia Yan, Lord Flame, and Lord Lion King. With these top powerhouses, we will definitely win. The bald man yelled. But his words had no influence on people at all. Fortunately, just after he finished his lecture, a siren sounded, completely pulling the surrounding soldiers into the deepest abyss of terror. Enemy attack. The barrier on our side is showing signs of breaking down, and outside creatures are coming. When the bald man heard these words, unlike the soldiers around him, his blood almost surged. Haha, come on, I've long wanted to see what the so-called strong men from the outside world are like. Come, get ready, fight to the death. The bald man from the Great Empire was excited about the upcoming battle, but his subordinates were all silent. They had completely different ideas from him. What they didn't know was that outside this area, a passing ultra-fast aircraft happened to pass by here. Huh? This fluctuation is Jia Yan was in the aircraft. Passing here, he felt the inexplicable fluctuations in the entire world. It turns out that this is the wave of barrier destruction. The destruction machine used by the opponent must be extremely powerful. When Jia Yan realized the fluctuation carefully, he was a little shocked. The use of extremely powerful machines shows that the opponent's energy source must have spent a lot of money, and this is just to send one or two venerables or sub-level experts into the Orion arm. It seems that the opponent is determined to win. Humph, I happened to be passing by here, otherwise another base would have been destroyed. Jia Yan actually knew that the opponent's attack on the base was not just for fun. The Empire had previously investigated and found that there was no resistance in the base area that was destroyed by the opponent. The outside creatures left there would use some instruments to detect it, which seemed to determine the space. Order something. It's definitely not a good thing if the opponent's data on this side of the barrier is detected on a large scale. They might really break open the space in a big way, and then extremely powerful people will enter. The entry point this time was different from the place where we reported last time. Jia Yan happened to pass by and couldn't just sit idly by. At the Starry Sky Barrier, this is an extremely gorgeous place. Creatures from the outside world see this barrier as a huge and terrifying scene that extends for hundreds of light years. If they want to enter the barrier, they need to break through the seemingly thin, but actually extremely strong barrier. As for the creatures inside the Orion arm, looking at this almost transparent barrier, it's like seeing flowers in a fog, unable to see anything clearly. Today, a fragmented light appeared somewhere on the barrier. The fragmentation slowly expanded, and finally, the sound of space being fragmented resounded in this area. The barrier area was completely shattered. A creature more than 200 meters in size passed through the ruptured area in a somewhat embarrassed manner. It's scary. This barrier of the Orion arm actually suppresses my strength. My strength is at the second level. The pressure of the barrier is like the pressure of a half-star strong man suppressing me. If it is a half-star strong man, if a star-level powerhouse wants to travel through time, the pressure may be even greater. No wonder a small half-star senior who came before did not dare to enter. The monster looked at the barrier behind, where it was being healed rapidly. I have to act quickly. The pressure around me is still there. If I don't go back in a while, I might die. The monster was slightly anxious, then took out a machine and looked around. It's right over there. I'll go there quickly and go back after finishing my work. Otherwise, I'll die under the pressure if I stay too long. He looked at the display screen on the machine, then flew away quickly in the direction pointed on the screen. It turns out that there is a mysterious pressure within this magical Orion arm, which makes creatures from the outside almost die. The venerable external creature that Jia Yan captured before was weakened by this, and was later killed by the Kaowo Defense Line Army. He took the machine and flew to the location of the mission. But before that, he saw a fleet of ships shooting rapidly towards his direction. Haha, is this the defense fleet within Orion's arm? The reaction is quite fast, but what impact can a fleet in this closed place have on me? Since you want to die, then I will help you. He smiled faintly, as if he was extremely disdainful of the fleet that came to greet him. After all, in the eyes of the outside forces like the biochemical empire, the so-called defense fleet within the Orion arm is simply a joke. Even if a few venerables occasionally come to resist, their strength is far weaker than that of the venerables outside. As for the half-star level, yes, the difference is even greater. As a sub-level warrior, they are sure to kill the so-called semi-star powerhouse within the arms of Orion. There was a pretty good one before. His name seemed to be Jia Yan? He didn't seem to be around for a long time. He must have been scared. He greeted the fleet of more than 100 ships without any worries at all, and even thought about the rumors of strong men in Orion's arms. The entire Orion arm resistance movement has been going on for a long time, and not only is the strength within the Orion arm almost exhausted. The powerful forces in the biochemical star field from the outside world have also taken turns to enter the Orion arm to fight. Including the sub-level creatures who entered, everyone understood that there were only 3 strong men in the entire Orion arm. The most powerful one was the one who had killed one of their sub-level strong men, and the other 2 were just 3. Not many people are afraid anymore. No one pays attention to the remaining venerables. That kind of existence may be very respected within the Orion arm, but it is nothing like bullshit in the outside world. I have received information before that there is only one Starry Sky level strongest person in the base here. I can wipe out this kind of existence with just a breath, but he is still the strongest person in the entire base. It makes me laugh. Even if Jia Yan, who had killed one of my subordinates, was here, I would dare to fight him. If I could kill him, I would have made a great contribution. This second-level creature from the outside world is extremely confident in his own strength. He believes that even if the most powerful person in Orion's arms is present, he can kill him. His battle with the fleet soon began. It was almost a one-sided crushing. When warships bombarded him, he could easily dodge the gunfire. Even if he didn't dodge, the impact of the gunfire on him would be minimal. It's not that the power of artillery fire is not strong, but that every strong person has his own ability to deal with technological artillery fire when he reaches the level of power. For example, Jia Yan can enter the subspace, and it is not so easy to fight artillery fire. And this strong man can use the power of his brain waves to condense a reflective material like a mirror. The gunfire from the battleship will bounce off or reflect back when reflected by his mirror. In order to thank the miserable Aquarius brother for translating the Feathered Alliance leader, the first update of the outbreak, thank you for the miserable Aquarius brother, and thank you all for your genuine support, thank you. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1038. Haha, it's boring for such a fleet to dare to come here to die. It might be interesting for your strong man named Jia Yan to come over, but he will still be killed by me. The top novels are updated the fastest. After the monster from that level destroyed 3 battleships in one go, he spoke arrogantly. In the fleet over there, the bald man looked at this man with an extremely ugly expression, and almost didn't know what to say. He understood that he was wrong, and how wrong he was. Such a strong man, who was only a mere Starry Sky level, could not even imagine fighting, let alone fighting. Now he won't talk about going forward to fight, but is thinking about how to escape. And just after the monster said something that irritated Jia Yan, the man wanted to say some soft words to the other person to see if he could escape, but at this moment, a clear voice sounded. As you wish. I'm here, you kill me. When these words appeared, a ripple in space appeared faintly not far in front of the 200-meter monster. Well, that is. In the Starry Sky, in the fleet command ship, the bald man looked at the ripple scene in astonishment, and then looked slightly confused. He didn't understand what this skill was. In short, he has already felt that there is a strong person in that ripple. Then he suddenly turned his head and thought of a certain character. Jia Yan. There are many versions of the rumors about this strong man. Every version says that his strength is extremely terrifying, but there is only one thing, that is, everyone says that he can travel through space. In other words, the existence that appears is Jia Yan, which is absolutely indispensable. Sure enough, when the ripple slowly calmed down, a man quietly stepped out of the space. As for the 200-meter monster with a somewhat solemn expression, he was very cautious when he heard the sudden sound and saw the ripples in the subspace again. After seeing the appearance of Jia Yan's clone and feeling his strength, he was suddenly shocked. Then he burst into a fit of wild laughter. Are you that Jia Yan? Haha, it's ridiculous. It turns out that you are just a venerable person. You said it so vividly. I thought you were some kind of strong man. Even a mere venerable person can defeat you with just a few clicks of my fingers. Falling apart. Really, I said, how about you give it a try? Jia Yan looked at him calmly. In fact, Jia Yan had arrived at the battlefield a long time ago, but he was cautious and did not show up at the beginning. After all, the defense line had little to do with him for the time being, and he didn't care if a group of alien warriors died. He didn't see each other. Jia Yan will not appear until he has actual combat power. Jia Yan appeared just because he saw the opponent's fighting style. It was because he had already mastered the opponent's fighting strength. Confident. Humph, just come, I'm still afraid of you as a mere venerable. That time, the level monster saw that he didn't take Jia Yan seriously, and Jia Yan didn't take him seriously. He felt uncomfortable, especially being looked down upon by a respected person. He could hardly accept it. Although he said that he didn't take Jia Yan seriously, he actually didn't do so. He knew from Jia Yan's previous achievements that being able to defeat a strong person at the second level would definitely be a feat even for a venerable person. This monster is not an ordinary venerable. As a powerful person in the outer star field, this monster knows that there are a group of creatures in the interstellar world that are extremely talented. Fighting across levels is as easy as eating and drinking. Now he felt that Jia Yan might be one of them. So what if he is a person with strong talent? He is just a creature in a closed place. He may not have seen my fighting style. If we fight, we will kill him casually. He was very confident because he insisted that even though Jia Yan was a talented combat creature within the arms of Orion, Jia Yan had never seen such combat skills from the outside world. What's more, his combat skills are rarely seen in the outside world. Die to me. This powerful creature didn't care so much and started to take action directly. The time he could fully move within Orion's arms was limited, and it would be dangerous to delay it any longer. So he raised his feet and charged towards Jia Yan. The opponent's hit had an extraordinary energy attached to it. Then, a crystal clear phenomenon appeared on the surface of his feet, making his body surface hard and shiny. So that's it? This guy's combat skill is to use the power of brain waves to form an extremely strong defense layer to a certain extent. The mirror that appeared in the starry sky before was because he radiated the power of brain waves into the starry sky to reflect the battleship gunfire, and now he is applying this power to his feet, making them extremely hard. Jia Yan saw the scene and felt that the opponent's combat skills that he had guessed before were now completely certain. Countryman, you have never seen such fighting skills. The monster rushed in front of Jia Yan, and with one blow, Jia Yan had no choice but to touch it with his fist and fly backwards for several kilometers. He was not surprised that Jia Yan was able to block his blow head-on. If he didn't even have this ability, Jia Yan wouldn't be worthy of being so respected by the Orion arm creature. Never seen it? Of course I haven't seen it, because even the strong men who deal with me disdain to use such rubbish fighting skills. Jia Yan's clone shook his head, and then a strange light appeared in his eyes. Puff. A gravitational fluctuation appeared in the vacuum, but the sub-level creature didn't notice it at all. He was angered by Jia Yan's words. Trash. You call the fighting skills passed down from generation to generation in my family rubbish. Okay, let me see your advanced fighting skills and see which one is more powerful, my rubbish fighting skills or yours. The creature rushed towards Jia Yan angrily, and then several mirror-like prismatic substances with brainwave power appeared in front of him. This prismatic material was like a bullet, shooting towards Jia Yan suddenly. This is quite interesting. When Jia Yan saw the variant of power, he felt a little interested, but he still didn't think it would pose any danger to him. His body entered the subspace in an instant, and then the prismatic object that stabbed at him almost brushed past his body. Is it a subspace talent? No wonder, it is natural to have this talent to dominate the small Orion arm, but it is just a rubbish skill in the outside world. When the monster at that level saw Jia Yan entering the subspace, he was slightly startled at first, and then he was not surprised at all. After all, space talent is the combat talent that most people possess in the outside world. Now that Jia Yan is showing it, he has the same strength as an ordinary space talent. After all, his clone has no space talent at all. Being able to enter the subspace is still the sense of space left over from his real body. The monster had come to Jia Yan again, and then stabbed his foot somewhere in the space. As a creature that fights a lot in the outside world, he understands that ordinary space-talented creatures, even if they can enter the subspace for a short time, cannot stay in that twisted place for long, because not every space-talented person can endure the distortion force in subspace for a long time. People like Jia Yan, who can not only stay in subspace for a long time, but can even be used for traveling, are as rare as giant pandas on Earth. Anyway, in Jia Yan's opinion, there are not many like him at all. Puff. This attack from the sub-level monster made the place in the subspace that I was targeting become even more distorted. If there was a creature inside that was about to come out, it would definitely suffer heavy damage. But there was no sign of any creature there. Huh? You can still stay in the subspace for so long, but I underestimate you. This monster was just about to scream in surprise, but suddenly felt its body tighten. What power! He was shocked to feel that this force was almost a tearing force that he had never felt before. It's just like gravitational. He looked to one side in surprise, only to see a torn space in that space, with a dark thing inside, spinning continuously inside. What is this? He looked at the dark thing in shock, but because he was in subspace, he couldn't figure out what it was. Just as he was torn apart by the gravity for a moment, the subspace around him split open, and a forearm shot out through the gap in an instant. Not good. He was shocked and wanted to escape, but he couldn't use his strength well. The gravitational force that attracted him doubled in an instant. It turns out that this kind of gravity is not irresistible in his opinion, but he is depressed because the gravity becomes stronger in an instant, and the strength he originally used is not enough to escape quickly. On the other side, the stabbing forearm almost effortlessly penetrated into his body with a soft sound. The huge pain and sense of crisis caused the creature to explode with unprecedented power. Because the opponent's body is too small, even if it penetrates the entire forearm, it is not very deep, just the surface. He struggled out of the forearm that pierced his body, but the opponent's brainwave power had already passed through the forearm and exploded in his internal organs, almost destroying a large area of internal organs. How is it? This second-level master, is my strength enough? When he was so seriously injured that his flight was not smooth, Jia Yan's body slowly walked out of the twisted space that attacked him. His forearm was covered with the blood of this level monster. The stench was extremely bad, but Jia Yan didn't care at all. Besides, there was no smell in a vacuum. When the other party heard Jia Yan's words, he became angry, but thinking about what he had said before that he would kill Jia Yan even if he was here, he suddenly fell silent. Master Jia Yan, you are indeed very powerful, but if you have investigated, you will understand that little people like us are simply weak in the outside world. We are just here to do a mission. If you are willing to do a good job, just let me go, and I will never dare to come back again. He said. Impossible. Jia Yan shook his head. Then let's die together. I will drag you to death with me. The second-level monster is crazy, and Jia Yan won't let him go anyway, so he might as well fight with Jia Yan. Roar. The second update of the outbreak. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1039. The fight between trapped beasts is extremely terrifying, especially the death outbreak of powerful creatures in the universe, which is equally terrifying. Top novels are updated the fastest. That time, the level master displayed his brainwave power skills like pieces of mirrors. These mirrors were like colorful flower bones, extremely beautiful in the starry sky. To be honest, this is the first time Jia Yan has seen such beautiful fighting skills, but beneath the beauty, there is murderous intention hidden. Flower bones are scattered throughout the starry sky, at least within 3 kilometers. Jia Yan is also in this flower bone. Although he retreated crazily, Huaguduo was like a maggot attached to his bones, following him closely. The clone was not fast enough and could not escape from Huaguduo's range. Snort. Jia Yan didn't want to see what kind of attack this Huaguduo would turn into, so he snorted and was about to enter the subspace. But he felt his body tighten. The flower bone flower actually had the terrifying space-disrupting ability, which prevented his clone's already not so powerful space talent from being able to exert its power and prevent him from entering the secondary space. Although this restriction is only for an instant, the other party wants this little time. Puff. Throughout the space, the brainwave power flower bones turned into countless sharp-edged bullets, stabbing hard at Jia Yan in the center. Countless bullets covered the entire area. If there were no accidents, all creatures inside would be dead and it would be impossible to escape. That time, the level creature also showed a smile. He thought he had won. To be honest, this was his ultimate trump card. There was once a high-level opponent in the level who suffered a big loss from this move, so he didn't think that the little venerable Jia Yan who fell into his trap could escape. The reason why he said harsh words to Jia Yan that he would die together was to paralyze the unwary Jia Yan. If Jia Yan had attacked him while he was injured, he would have died. Now that he had delayed using this move, Jia Yan he will die. In the surrounding fleet, every defensive creature looked at the battle between the peerless experts in front of them, and they were all stunned. Then they saw the thousands of flower bones, like a shower of rain, engulfing Jia Yan who was in the center. They all screamed in surprise. It's over, it's over. Master Jia Yan is too careless. If he uses this move, he may be in trouble. Who says it's not the case? I'm not as powerful as Mr. Jia Yan. You can see that Mr. Jia Yan was a little careless before. The strong outsiders are obviously no match for Mr. Jia Yan. They are still stalling for time. As a result, they are holding back a big problem. Come on, Mr. Jia Yan is too careless. Stop talking, I don't think the master will suffer. Just wait and see. If Master Jia Yan is that simple, he won't be the strongest one in our Orion arm. Someone in the fleet actually said that Jia Yan was the strongest person in the Orion arm, and no one even refuted it. It seemed that the fact that Jia Yan was implicitly the strongest person in the Orion arm had already been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Of course, what this group of onlookers could see before, how could Jia Yan not hear it when he listened to the strong man's nonsense before? He just wanted to see what kind of skills this so-called outsider would use. Now it turns out that the opponent did not disappoint Jia Yan. The feeling of this move is of great reference value to Jia Yan. You want my clone to die? It's not that easy. Thousands of prismatic bullets were fired at Jia Yan, but before that, a twisted space appeared behind Jia Yan. The power of the black hole inside was sucked in with terrifying force, and his body was instantly sucked in. Within the space, the surrounding space can prevent Jia Yan from tearing apart the subspace on his own, but it cannot prevent the black hole from tearing apart the subspace. Huh? What on earth is that? Is it an artificial black hole in my biochemical star field? The monster in the distance suddenly felt shuddered when it saw that Jia Yan was able to escape in such a desperate situation. It understood that with its own strength, it was impossible to fight against Jia Yan, so it quickly dragged its remaining body and flew towards the barrier again. Back. And that's fine if he doesn't run away. Once he runs away, how can his speed be the opponent of Jia Yan who has subspace talent? Even though this place is only 300 to 500 kilometers away from the barrier, This distance is the difference between life and death. The monster had just flown less than 10 kilometers when a figure appeared outside the subspace behind him. Arriving behind the opponent, Jia Yan's arm penetrated the opponent's body again. "Lord Jia Yan, please." The monster felt that the fear of death was approaching him, and he quickly wanted to say something to beg for mercy, but before he could say anything, Jia Yan's brainwave power was already vomiting violently. Wave. The entire space was shaken, and the monster exploded suddenly in the starry sky like a pile of broken flesh. Died. Jia Yan doesn't even want the other party's information. He feels disgusted if he doesn't kill this kind of existence. My lord has won, as expected of Lord Jia Yan. The onlookers' battleships act as spectators. There are hundreds of battleships, and there are hundreds of thousands of creatures inside. In the future, through their mouths, they will introduce the power of Jia Yan and the civilization of the earth to the entire Orion. Armed civilization. In the eyes of the onlookers, Jia Yan's victory was a sure one. Although there were situations where the opponent used ultimate moves to overturn the situation before, Master Jia Yan's strength was overwhelming, so from beginning to end, it was actually basically impossible. There are no surprises. Those fleet soldiers who said Jia Yan was dangerous were like the rebels who were pointed at their spines and scolded. None of them could hold their heads up now. "Sir, I am the general of this fleet and the commander-in-chief of base 429. I wonder if I can meet you." Just when Jia Yan finished his work and wanted to continue moving towards the Kaowo defense line, a brainwave conversation from a certain starry sky-level creature in the fleet reached his ears. "Commander-in-chief? It doesn't hurt to meet him." Jia Yan agreed to the other party. Not long after, Jia Yan saw the so-called general in a huge 5-kilometer command warship. This is a creature similar to an earthling, with a large bald head, which makes him look like a social figure rather than a dignified base leader. "I've met Lord Jia Yan." The other party has met Jia Yan. At the same time, Jia Yan looked at him, and he also looked at Jia Yan. He had great respect for Jia Yan, a legendary figure, and even quarreled with some soldiers about Jia Yan before. Of course, it is impossible for him to come up with it now and ask for credit or something. "Your Excellency, Jia Yan will probably not care about some slander. No need to be polite. I don't know if you want to say anything when you meet me." Jia Yan nodded and then asked the other party. "It's like this, Your Excellency Jia Yan, I have admired your bravery and strength before, and I want to reveal to you some information I obtained before." "Oh? Tell me." Jia Yan was startled. He had never thought that this great empire general would want to give him some information when they met for the first time. When it comes to intelligence, he estimates that it is the intelligence of this defense line. In fact, Jia Yan will definitely get the information that the other party can get, even more and more comprehensively than he gets, so Jia Yan doesn't care so much now. "Lord Jia Yan, what I want to say is not the intelligence on the defense line, but I heard that you seem to want a copy of the blood essence of the mythical beast left behind by our great empire. I have a top-secret intelligence here. I want to tell you." Hearing his remarks, Jia Yan was stunned. He would never have thought that this general would actually say this to him. "How do you know that I want blood essence? Could it be that your great empire is so secretive that you told a small base commander like you that I want blood essence?" Jia Yan was not happy or anything, but his face darkened. You must know that for him, his request is a secret. If every base commander knows it, then it is equivalent to telling the whole world. "No, sir, you may not know my identity. Don't look at me like this. I am also a royal family of a great empire. Everyone in our royal family has a vote on this matter that your lordship mentioned before. Oh, you are also a member of the imperial family." Jia Yan nodded. He had previously thought that the other person had a similar appearance to the second prince. Now that he heard this, it was indeed the case. "It's like this. Our royal family is now dragging on the matter of your excellency Jia Yan's blood. We don't know how long it will take to draw a conclusion. The prince seems to want to win over Jia Yan. It's no wonder that after witnessing the previous battle, he naturally attaches great importance to Jia Yan's external power. You must know that although he is not a direct descendant of the royal family, he still has the power to inherit his father's legacy. If he could get Jia Yan's help for a certain throne, he felt that he would have won half the battle. So you are holding back, is this the information? Then I understand, thank you. Jia Yan frowned, this was not a good thing for him. No, Mr. Jia Yan, that's not what I want to say, but I want to tell you that if you want blood essence, there is another place to go. To tell you the truth, when our great empire obtained the blood essence of that senior, it was actually not obtained through peaceful means. Although no one has ever used it successfully in history, even if the blood essence is swallowed by the user, it will cause consequences in the future. The user dies directly, and the blood essence returns to the blood essence pile by itself, so in recent years, no one dares to try this blood essence. But in another place, there is a diluted version of the essence and blood that our empire traded with others. If you want it, you can find a way to get it. The other party said so many words in one breath, which made Jia Yan think. To be honest, Jia Yan is not in a hurry about the blood essence matter. After all, his real body has not yet loosened any level. When he is about to be promoted to the star level, he can solemnly ask for it from the great empire. But now that the other party mentioned it and said it was a diluted version, Jia Yan really wanted to try to see if the current real body could be used. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1040. Tell me, if you provide me with this information, what do you want me to do for you? The top novels are updated the fastest. Jia Yan was moved by the other party's words and asked directly about the other party's request. I don't dare. I just want you to support me in your conversation with us about the future of the royal family. If I get the throne, I will definitely repay you. When the other party saw that Jia Yan actually agreed, he nodded and bowed, almost going crazy with joy. Seeing Jia Yan's strength in person, this bald man certainly understands that Master Jia Yan's strength is much higher than that of the two beings in their empire. Maybe if the two powerful men come together, they will not be the opponent of Master Jia Yan. In this case, Jia Yan is almost confirmed to be the strongest master in the entire Orion arm. And if he can get the help of such a master, even if he only shows a little interest, his status in the royal family will be much higher than before. I promise you, tell me where the diluted blood essence is. Jia Yan frowned, not feeling comfortable with the pretentiousness in the other person's words. When the bald man saw Jia Yan's demeanor, of course he understood that his attitude was not good when he spoke. He did not dare to say more at the moment and quickly told his information. It's like this, Mr. Jia Yan, thousands of years ago, we had a very good relationship with a big businessman's family from the Starlight domain, and then traded a share of blood essence with him, just because the essence blood is not easy to preserve, and there are self-returning, so we technically diluted the essence and blood, and this is where the essence and blood came from. It happened thousands of years ago. Who can guarantee that the blood essence diluted version is still there? And even if it is still there, where should I look for it? I have never even heard of the so-called Starlight domain. Jia Yan frowned even more. Doesn't it mean that no one can enter or exit the Orion arm? How could this great empire conduct transactions with the outside world? In other words, the Starlight domain is the name of a certain force within Orion's arm? My lord, please listen to my explanation. You will understand after I finish speaking. The bald man chuckled, and then explained to Jia Yangxiang carefully. Under his explanation, Jia Yan actually showed a look of surprise, and then seemed to smile slightly with a sigh. It turns out that this matter has something to do with him. The Rulan Empire and the Asta Empire had attacked the Earth before, and Jia Yan's clone had taken action after he came back, beating the Rulan Empire almost to the point of losing its temper. At that time, there was a suspected venerable in the Nerulan Empire, an old monster who had lived for a long, long time. And the words spoken by the bald man were actually related to the old bald monster. It turns out that he is the descendant of the merchant who traded with the great empire back then. And the place where he was born was the so-called Starlight Realm. The Starlight Domain is a strange star region that does not belong to the outside world or the Orion Arm. Its geographical location is indeed within the Orion Arm, but it is also vaguely excluded from the barrier of the Orion Arm. But one difference is that creatures in the Orion Arm can go to the Starlight Realm through the barrier, and creatures in the Starlight Realm can also come to the Orion Arm. It's just that creatures from the outside can go to the Starlight Realm, but they cannot enter the Orion Arm through the Starlight Realm. In this way, this is like an enclave, where the creatures are all the people left behind by the Orion Arm. Interesting, that old monster is the master of the blood essence. If you go over and ask him, he said the blood essence is still there. I had contact with this old monster before. He said that as long as I took him home, he would give me something in return. Maybe he wanted to give me blood essence. Jia Yan understood. It turned out that the bald man had already figured out the relationship between him and the old monster. After explaining so much to Jia Yan, he just wanted to explain to him that he wanted the essence and blood diluted version. It's not impossible. The old monster wants me to take him back to the Starlight Realm, right? But now the Rulan Empire has also come into contact with the Great Empire. The Rulan Empire's aircraft cannot reach the Starlight Realm, but the Great Empire is different. He can find the Great Empire. The Empire has gone back, and now if I go back and cooperate with him, won't it mean that I don't have much leverage? Jia Yan thought to himself. Sir, that old monster is an old guy who has lived for thousands of years. We have said before that we want to take back the diluted blood essence. If he is willing, we will take him back to his birthplace, Earth, but he doesn't want to. Even if he goes back, he will die, because his family was destroyed before, and if there is no strong person to go back with him, he will die if he shows up in the Starlight Realm. The bald man said to Jia Yan helplessly. So, his enemies in the Starlight Realm are very powerful? Otherwise, why would he be so afraid? Jia Yan asked this question a little strangely. It turned out that he felt that if the Starlight Realm was close to the Orion Arm, the strong ones would not be too strong, but it was hard to say whether they could connect with the outside world. Yes, according to him, his enemies are some venerables and junior level. The only ones we, Orion, are sure of are you, Lord Flame, and Lord Lion King. But they are both busy, so it is impossible. If you want to help him, if you want the diluted version of blood essence, you can accompany him personally. Okay, thank you. I will give you the support you mentioned. In the future, just tell me, Jia Yan, that I support you in fighting for the throne. Jia Yan bid farewell to the overjoyed bald man. To be honest, it was a pure surprise to learn about the diluted version of blood essence through this battle. Now that I know it, if I don't take it, I will waste a powerful opportunity. Moreover, this version of blood essence is a diluted version. Maybe I can take it directly with my real body. In that case, my strength may be improved. Will be faster than expected. Jia Yan didn't think much about it. God had given him such an opportunity, so he had to fight for it. If it can be strong, the defense line can be put aside for the time being. No matter how the opponent attacks, no matter how many bases are destroyed, it will not be possible to break through the barrier for the time being. After bidding farewell to the royal man, Jia Yan turned on the communication equipment and said hello to the general at the highest level of the defense line, the second prince of the empire. When he heard that Jia Yan had arrived and had previously killed a sub-level external intruder, The general was naturally extremely happy. Okay, to make this short, since your headquarters is okay for the time being, I will go and solve some of the places with more loopholes first, and see if I can destroy one or two of the opponent's barrier-penetrating machines. After Jia Yan said a few words to the other party, he closed the communication. Okay, now that the rest of the business has been settled, it's time for me to start a big battle at the beginning and end of this defense line. Jia Yan's clone stood in the starry sky and let out a long sigh of relief. This breath was instantly taken away by the vacuum, causing a mist to appear in the vacuum. After breathing a sigh of relief, Jia Yan became energetic. He jumped on the aircraft, and with this aircraft, he could cruise the entire defense area at extremely fast speeds. Master Jia Yan, please help. Not long after he boarded the aircraft, a distress call was transmitted to the aircraft. Coordinates, and enemy information. Jia Yan asked lightly. Coordinates 2.5D235, the enemy is a venerable. I'll be there soon. Jia Yan turned off the communication, and then the speed of the aircraft suddenly increased. The place is not far away, because the distant distress signal has been automatically cut off by the defense line. Good steel should be used on good knives. The distance is too far. It doesn't matter whether Jia Yan can get there. Even if he does, he will definitely not be able to save him. If you don't find anything, it's better to save only those who are not far from Jia Yan. Fortunately, he had a space vehicle, and at full speed, even the top scientists in the Empire widened their eyes. However, it is impossible for them to study Jia Yan's aircraft. That's that Jia Yan? Run away. The first venerable level person to see Jia Yan started to escape almost as soon as he learned Jia Yan's identity. But his escape was of no use. Jia Yan gently stepped into the subspace, and then his figure reappeared behind the escaping venerable class. Puff! The entire space in the starry sky shook for an instant. The venerable monster's expression condensed, and then his head and body moved. Next. Jia Yan looked indifferent and didn't even look at the cheers of the entire base's defense line. He stepped directly into the subspace, accelerated back to the aircraft, and received the next distress signal again. The aircraft rushed to the locations where battles broke out like lightning. This time, Jia Yan really became famous in the entire Kaowo defense line. Not only Kaowo's defense line, but also several surrounding empires or forces have begun to ignite the situation. You must know that the two top powerhouses of the Great Empire, Flame and Lion King, have appeared in this Kaowo defense line. Flame was injured in one battle. He barely fought a few times and was almost defeated. The Lion King didn't like to come. He beat the invading enemy once or twice and found that he didn't take any advantage at all, so he left again. Master Jia Yan from the earth is different from them. Not only can he easily defeat any invading enemy, but even the speed of rescue is nothing to say. He was able to arrive in half an hour. Although he could not rescue him from other places, because of his repeated killings, the number of creatures from the outside gradually became less and less. After half a month, almost all the creatures came to him at the end of the day. There are no more intruders. The powerful creatures in the outside world are absolutely scared to death. Unlike the Flame and the Lion King, looking for the book, Mr. Jia Yan actually relied on one person to put out the fire everywhere, and thus saved the entire defense line. Lord Jia Yan is so great. From today on, I will be a brainless fan of Lord Jia Yan. If it weren't for him, the enemies might have attacked our empire. You must know that our empire is on the edge of this defense line. Yes, Master Jia Yan is our lucky star. Now I hope that this lucky star will become stronger and stronger. Compared with the Flame and Lion King, which are also powerful but useless, Master Jia Yan is our Orion. He is the protector who cares most about his people. Haha, who can say otherwise, and I see that Lord Jia Yan is much stronger than those two guys from the big empire. If you haven't seen that flame, you will be injured almost by fighting anyone. Compared to Lord Jia Yan, who kills enemies every time, he is much weaker. The fourth update is over. Sorry, it was delayed until 12:30. I am really tired from writing. But having said that, the fourth update is the fourth update, Bulletin you at least did not boast. 16,000 is really not possible, but 12,000 is not bad. I would like to thank the book friends who gave the tips. I am very tired, so I will not go and thank them one by one. Anyway, thank you. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1041. The biological people of the countries surrounding the defense line were discussing the two powerful men, Jia Yan and the Great Empire. Top novels are updated the fastest. Yes, have you heard that a few months ago, when Master Jia Yan came to Kaowo's defense line, he killed an enemy's second-level strongman on the spot, while Huo Yan fought with another second-level strongman. He was about to die. Lord Jia Yan just wanted to rush to help, but when the monster saw Lord Jia Yan, he didn't dare to look back and ran away. Haha, it can be seen that the flames are too far behind him. On the headquarters star of a certain force, there is a club for living beings to relax, similar to a bar for people on Earth. Several guests exchange information in a high-spirited manner, but their words cannot help but ridicule the Great Empire. Snort. They were communicating, and somewhere in the club, a monster almost jumped up impulsively. Forget it, I really can't compare to Jia Yan. What they told is the truth. Beside this monster, a creature covered in light flames prevented the monster from erupting. But sir, can you just swallow this breath? It seems that Jia Yan's reputation exceeds that of you and the Lion King. And your strength is just suppressed by those outside creatures. If Jia Yan really wants to fight you, maybe he won't be your opponent. The monster accompanying the flaming creature was extremely unconvinced. The flame creature is naturally the flame himself, one of the two top powerhouses in the empire, as the people around him say. He is now in this club just to heal his wounds. No one around him knew he existed, because he used a brainwave power barrier, and others looked like he was just an ordinary giant creature. After all, he is still a half-star within the arms of an Orion, although his combat power is not that strong. I really can't compare to Jia Yan. The waves behind the Yangtze River push the waves ahead. I didn't expect that I would see the day when such a terrifying and powerful man would appear within the arms of our Orion. Flame changed from the previous state of few words and said a lot. I don't believe it, he must have used some special method. The monster who maintained the flame had a sharp look in his eyes. Xintian, please don't do anything wrong. We cannot do without the help of Jia Yan now. Huo understood his subordinate best and immediately opened his eyes and gave instructions to him. Yes. The monster named Xintian nodded respectfully, but a sharp look flashed in his eyes. Not long after, the flames were still healing in the unique room of the club. Then the monster named Xintian walked out of the room, and suddenly one of his subordinates came forward and said something to him. Huh? Then Jia Yan actually went to the Rulan Empire and met with my younger brother who is vying for the throne. Huh, that's a good hug, my dear brother. This monster is actually a family member of the bald man, and I don't know what kind of heavy taste their father has. One of the two brothers looks like a human, and the other is a monster that is dozens of meters tall. When this monster thought about the fight for the throne, the cruelty in his heart suddenly became more intense. And when he said these things outside the door, in the room, Huo opened his eyes slightly, then seemed to hesitate for something, and then closed his eyes again. Jia Yan was indeed rushing to the Rulan Empire. He walked almost the entire Kaowo defense line, and the outside offensive also became weaker, so he thought about it and left the Kaowo defense line on the grounds that he needed to rest. At this line of defense, Jia Yan's idea of destroying a machine used to open the barrier to the outside world was not realized, because no matter how he thought about it, there was no way to go outside the barrier and destroy a machine without exposing himself. Similar machines. The number of barrier-breaking machines from the outside world has probably increased to 3. Maybe even more, otherwise the previous offensive would not have been so fierce. Unfortunately, I can't go out and destroy one, because if I go out, the strong ones from the outside world will it's infinitely stronger. Maybe the one guarding outside the machine is a star and a half, and my clone will only be met with death. Jia Yan felt a little emotional. His clone was too weak. If his real body were here, he might as well use his subspace talent to go out and destroy the machine, and then kill a few semi-stars by the way. Even the news of their death might not be spread in time. Go out. But the clone can't do it. If you encounter a half-star level, you have to stop. Fortunately, I don't have to worry. The ejection device on the real body is progressing pretty well. When the time comes, the real body will fly directly to the defense line. At least under the current circumstances, it will be invincible both inside and outside the defense line. After so many battles, Jia Yan has understood that even if the forces outside the defense line don't have a few half-stars supervising the battle, his true form is here and he can dominate directly inside and outside the defense line. Of course, unexpected situations are also possible, so Jia Yan must be careful even if his true form comes. In short, the situation is not very bad. Now Jia Yan has a good fight and the entire defense is somewhat stable, so now he can leave. The aircraft flies quickly. In the genius battlefield, Jia Yan's real body once again calculated the time, and within a certain period of time, part of the real body's power was transmitted to the clone through the quantum linkage channel. It turns out that during this period of time, Jia Yan had found a way to transfer part of the energy to the clone. That is, within a certain period of time, the quantum channel seems to be stable for a period of time, and there is no restriction on Jia Yan transmitting power to the clone. There is only a limit on the amount. If the power transmitted by Jia Yan exceeds the limit, the transmission will be closed. I think the end of the journey to Taya Kingdom is about to come to an end. As long as the energy transmission channel is stable, then my clone will be compatible with the real body from now on. Maybe the instantaneous power can reach half of the real body, then it will be powerful. Jia Yan felt satisfied when he thought that his future clones would have more power from his true body. But there are a lot of things going on right now, so we can't rush. As for Jia Yan, who was in Tingtian Pavilion in Genius Battlefield, the surrounding forces seemed to have a faint feeling that Jia Yan, who returned to Tingtian Pavilion this time, seemed to be acting more boldly this time. In a previous Tingtian Pavilion mission, a subordinate specially invited by Tingtian Pavilion was actually killed by a force that did not give Tingtian Pavilion face. Tingtianga issued a very strong diplomatic statement of condemnation that day. Today, Jia Yan has finished arranging the affairs of the clone, and it's time to settle matters. Sir, are you going out? Jia Yan drove the bird monster transformed into a battle armor and walked out of the stone house. The chief manager of Tingtian Pavilion appointed by Jia Yan suddenly asked with bright eyes. Yes. If we go out this time, the Yehua forces that killed one of our brothers will no longer exist. Jia Yan nodded lightly, then took a step forward, and his entire body entered the subspace. Ah, so handsome. Before the subordinate said anything, Zebullah, who happened to see the scene, shouted loudly. As a fan of Jia Yan, Zebala pays close attention to Jia Yan's every move. Now seeing that Jia Yan complied with the remarks made by the diplomat a few days ago and went to personally go to the Yehua forces to liquidate it, it was almost, I'm so excited that I can't wait to go and see the excitement. Oh, I hope you are okay. You must know that this Yehua force is a force with a high-level talent and a half-star level existence. Lord Mok's previous battles with the disciple force were so thrilling, and this time he will have to do it again. Be careful. Forget it, you don't know what kind of strength Master Mok is now, and what kind of strength he was before. Zibala smiled slightly. As the other identity of Moke that only she understands, Zibala does not tell Jia Yan's identity now. This is like sharing his secret with Jia Yan, which makes her very happy. And she was right. It can be seen from Jia Yan's recent actions. Although he doesn't go out much anymore, Jia Yan's return this time has obviously caused Tingtian Pavilion to speed up its expansion. If he hadn't greatly improved his strength, he would never have done this. In the starry sky subspace, Jia Yan drove his armor forward quickly. I can't treat Tingtian Pavilion lightly now. It has already helped me get a lot of cultivation materials, and also returned Zibala a lot of genius yuan. If I lose him, I don't know how to create such a huge money gap where to get it. So now anyone who dares to offend my power will be punished by me. Otherwise, Tingtianga will lose the status he finally gained. Jia Yan did not make this decision lightly. Anyway, the clone is on the road for the time being, so the real body can be dispatched. Jia Yan's goal is a force called Yehua Force. This force was established by a female force, but it has been many generations now, and the leader is a male creature. What did you say? You actually killed a person from Tingtian Pavilion for me. You are really mad at me. On this day, the leader was furious and lost his temper with several senior officials in the Power Council. You must know that when he just received this news, almost his whole body was in a bad mood. So what kind of force is Tingtian Pavilion? It is a leader who can single-handedly wipe out almost half of the disciples, and then indirectly cause chaos in the entire dark area. Such a force, others can't even hide from him, and a few of his subordinates are stupid enough to escape. Kill someone under the influence. Master Leader, we have no choice. Recently, Tingtian Pavilion has gone too far and wants to seize our project. Moreover, the opponent is only a sub-level person. If you dare not give me, a senior, face, I will kill you at any cost. Let's kill him, otherwise where is the dignity of us strong men? A fox-like creature spoke confidently with almost no fear in front of this leader monster. He was not wrong in the first place. In this genius battlefield, it is the same as the outside universe. The weak obey the strong and must respect the strong. Otherwise, the weak will not respect the strong, and everyone will practice for nothing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1042. That's right, it's just a sub-level. I'm sure that Mok won't fight against us for such a creature. If he wants to come, we don't have to be afraid. The top novel is updated the fastest. Hearing what his subordinates said, Monster, the leader of the Yehua forces, could only shake his head helplessly. Now he hopes that Mok will not come to trouble their forces because of this trivial matter, otherwise it will be a big problem. But things did not go as expected. Just when almost everyone in this force thought that such a trivial matter would not happen to Tingtian Pavilion. A communication was transmitted to the Yehua Force headquarters star. First, sir, it's not good. A high-ranking member of the Yehua forces who specializes in communications and external liaison almost stumbled to the outside of the meeting room and started to drink almost like crazy. What's the matter? How can you behave so recklessly? When the leader monster saw this subordinate acting so rude, he became furious. After all, the Yehua force is a large force. Although it is not as good as the disciples and other forces, it still has his high-end talent of half a star. It has the background of a big force, but it can be seen that its subordinates are so reckless. There is still a gap between them and the powerful creatures. You have to stay calm, understand? Now tell me what's going on. The leader lectured angrily, but he found that the subordinate in front of him still had the same look. His heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he felt vaguely that something was wrong. Sure enough, After the subordinate said his words, the leader himself became dazed for a while. Then MOK sent a message, saying that someone in our force killed a member of his Tingtian pavilion and asked us to hand over the murderer. Now he is not far from our Yahuwah force. The subordinate was so impatient that he couldn't care less about his magnanimity now. What? MOK is here. Upon hearing this, the leader of the Night Flower Force suddenly stood up from his seat, with a shocked look on his face. MOK is already synonymous with a big troublemaker in this dark area. Although his true strength may only be a high-level talent with a sub-level existence, almost everyone believes that his strength can compete with a mid-level person. The talent is half-star level, and it is even possible to defeat him. MOK's record was that he once teamed up with one of his second-level friends to defeat a high-level talented half-star, plus 2 medium-level half-stars. Even after that battle, Mok went to the headquarters of the disciple group and detonated the man-made black hole, the thing that all forces feared most about Mok. So in summary, although Mok is not a high-end half-star talent, many forces already treat him as a high-end half-star level, or even a high-end half-star level that poses a great threat. And this huge threat actually came to my own Night Flower Force today. When the leader heard the news about MOK's arrival, he stood up quickly, and then said to the fox monster, who was also shocked, "Don't be afraid, I will protect you. I will go out and take a look now. He does MOK have 3 heads and 6 arms?" When the fox monster heard this, his slightly frightened eyes suddenly became happy, and then followed the leader and went out to the outside world with confidence. The leader of the Yahuwah forces urgently contacted the surrounding high-level officials to strengthen his courage, and said to the following fox monster, "This MOK will definitely not detonate a black hole this time. Not to mention whether there are any other black holes after he detonated one last time. Even if there is an artificial black hole, it is definitely not easy to get. It is not cost-effective to detonate it for such trivial things. If it is not detonated, it will be just a small sub-level, and we don't need to be afraid at all. That's right, we are not a fugitive group. If he dares to join our Yahuwah forces, he will definitely come back in vain." The fox monster quickly responded in agreement. He was the one who killed the sub-level member of Tingtian Pavilion. Now that MOK has come to visit him, he is actually very scared, so he talks bad things about MOK all the time, for fear that the leader will change and welcome him. Enemy thoughts. After receiving the news, more and more senior members of the Yahuwah forces gathered around. But there is also a part of them who may have thought of the Mok who detonated an artificial black hole during the Battle of the Disciples. As a result, even half a star level of high talent died. They did not dare to come forward with him, but instead found the reason is avoidable. Seeing this scene, the leader of the Yahuwah forces had no choice but to lead the arriving beings towards the place outside the headquarters star. And above the starry sky at the headquarters of the Yahuwah forces, a creature that had just escaped from the subspace stood there so faintly and proudly. Every creature around him surrounded him. Although one or two of them had strength fluctuations even greater than that of that creature, they did not dare to act rashly. The shadow of the famous tree and the threat of the word MOK have already exploded in this dark realm. How could this group of beings who were the strongest but at the sub-level dare to attack the Mok in front of them? Haha, Your Excellency, MOK has come to visit you. We, the Night Flower Force, have been disappointed in our welcome. Please forgive me. The appearance of a voice made the surrounding creatures breathe a sigh of relief. Facing the proud metal existence, they were almost unable to move due to the invisible pressure. There was even a sub-level who almost took the initiative to attack Jia Yan under this pressure. Fortunately, the voice appeared in time, otherwise he would have made a big mistake. The creature surrounded by the surrounding sub-level creatures in the starry sky was naturally Jia Yan, who had just arrived outside the Star of the Night Flower Force headquarters. His alias in this dark realm is MOK, so others here are extremely afraid of his alias. Although Jia Yan seems almost defenseless when surrounded by these creatures, in fact, in the subspace that others cannot see clearly, two man-made black holes hidden deeply are already ready to attack. The surrounding creatures in front of them acted rashly, and the next scene was probably something that no creature from the Nightflower Force would want to see. The voice that spoke came from a creature flying from the headquarters of the Yahuwah forces. This is a monster that Jia Yan poses a great threat to him at first sight. From a cursory observation, he can tell that this is a semi-star level existence with high talent. The opponent came from afar, still far away, but the momentum was already locked on Jia Yan. A hidden strength wrapped Jia Yan in a less hostile way, as if he wanted to test Jia Yan's strength. Snort. Jia Yan snorted softly, and then the cell power on the metal armor burst into flames. Although the overall strength of his body surface cells is currently around the peak of the starry sky level, the power that can actually be displayed is also at the sub-level level. With the help of brainwave power and the increase of the battle armor, the power that can be displayed is even more terrifying. A shock wave flashed in the starry sky, and then there was an explosion around Jia Yan's body. Then the brainwave power that enveloped him was blasted away, leaving almost no shadow. Your Excellency MOK is indeed very skilled. When the highly talented half-star monster who came over saw this scene, there was a look of surprise in his eyes, and then he praised it sincerely. You must know that MOK before was considered by others to be a man who relied on miraculous skills to be able to run rampant. But now, looking at it, his strength is definitely not as simple as a second level. Very well, your Yahuwah forces killed one of my senior officials in Tingtian Pavilion, and now you actually want to use force against me. You deceived me first, so don't blame me for using force. Jia Yan looked calmly at the flying high-end half-star talent. The opponent's strength was estimated to be several times that of the real body. But now in front of Jia Yan, it was like seeing a god of plague. He wished that Jia Yan would immediately roll. But he thought so, Jia Yan refused to leave, and even deliberately took the force the other party had just exerted on him as an attack. Otherwise, he would not have used such exaggerated force to detonate it and blast away the opponent's probing power. Don't be impulsive, Your Excellency Jia Yan. I didn't mean to attack you just now. Maybe the way I expressed friendship was wrong. Don't be angry, Your Excellency Jia Yan. The leader of the Yahuwah forces who flew over seemed angry when he saw Jia Yan. He forgot about the series of excuses he had planned to make to blame, and quickly sued Jia Yan for mercy. This famous troublemaker in the Dark Realm is now surrounded by the top management of his entire Yahuwah force, but God knows if he has the ability to escape, and then he will be thrown out of a black hole, and his Yahuwah force will be unlucky. Okay, now let me ask you how you want to solve the matter of your Yahuwah forces killing me, a high-ranking member of Tingtian Pavilion. If I am not satisfied with the result, I will not leave. Jia Yan calmly asked the leader of Yahuwah who was flying close for instructions. We must have had some misunderstanding before. It was our fault that a creature from our force came to kill the sub-level existence of your force, but we didn't know that it was the top of your force. Now tell me, once from us, as long as we can do it, we will do it. The leader understood that Tingtian Pavilion seemed to love money as much as life, and almost all of his profession was plundering. Many forces are unwilling to cooperate. As a result, they dare not cooperate after being threatened several times. Around the Nightflower Force, there are actually quite a few sightseeing stars, and some creatures from small forces will come to the Nightflower Force commercial star to go shopping. But now they have given up sightseeing and shopping one by one, and they have witnessed it from a distance. This scene. Oh my God, is that a sub-level creature confronting the leader of the Nightflower Force and other high-level officials? Who is this? It's awesome, but it will definitely die soon. Haha, what do you know? Look at it clearly, idiot. That's Moke. You don't know who Moke is, right? He is the most terrifying sub-level in our Dark Realm. The disciple group was the one before. He almost destroyed it all by himself, and now that he has come to this Night Flower Force, tisk tisk, there is something good to see. Hey, when you say that, you are really unreasonable. No, we are too close. If that shit stick throws another black hole, we might all be affected. Hurry up and stay away. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1043. The demeanor of the surrounding audience has no impact on the person who is the center of attention. Top novels are updated the fastest. Now Jia Yan has long been prepared. This time, he is not willing to keep a low profile at all. With two man-made black holes, the foundation for his strength has been laid. Now, he doesn't need to keep a low profile in this genius battlefield. At least facing this Night Flower Force, he didn't have to think so much. If you want to fight, then fight. Do you want to compensate me? Okay, now I will give you a list. As long as you are willing, I will turn around and leave immediately, and never mention this matter again. Jia Yan looked at the other party, and then his brain flashed, and a 100-meter-sized screen appeared. Above is a list of materials. If you look carefully, you can find that this is the list of materials for Zbala's research on catapults. To say that this material is not much at all, it is difficult for Jia Yan to bear it at least. Now he owes a lot of foreign debts. As a person who does not like to owe others favors, Jia Yan now wants to see if he can borrow this something to return the favor. Are these supplies? No problem, Lord Moke, as long as it can calm the gap between our two major forces, we, the Night Flower Force, are willing to provide these supplies. Jia Yan originally thought that the other party would be angry, so he could use a reason to start a war. After all, it would be an unbearable shame for any force to have someone knock on its door and ask for supplies. If Jia Yan had not expected it wrong, the other party would be angry. Unexpectedly, the leader of the Yehua forces actually agreed without saying a word. Jia Yan couldn't help but take a closer look at the monster. The opponent was a huge rock monster, but there was a hint of wisdom in his eyes. He is such a sensible monster. Jia Yan nodded, but his speech was not over yet. One more thing, that is, you must hand over the murderer who killed the senior leader of my power. Don't just let any creature mess with me. This. The leader of the Yehua faction agreed to the previous material compensation very quickly, but at this point, the other party showed a hint of solemnity. I can't agree to him, leader. Who is this MOK? He actually dares to threaten a big force like ours. I'm not afraid of death, but you can't lose the face of my Yehua force. The fox monster behind the leader of the Yehua forces suddenly screamed nervously. Now everyone around, including Jia Yan, understood that he was the murderer. Jia Yan looked over, then looked back, staring coldly at the leader of the Yehua force. If there is no accident, the opponent will not accept this, so Jia Yan's ultimate move is ready and he will summon two black holes. Jia Yan didn't know whether the Yehua forces would end up like the disciples at the time, because he didn't plan to explode the black hole, and the impact would probably not be as terrifying as the last time. Okay. Lord Jia Yan, you should kill someone to pay for your life, and I promise you that. You should have no more demands. Our power also has a bottom line. Unexpectedly, when Jia Yan's eyes became more and more unkind, the leader of the Yehua force actually endured this tone again and spoke with some difficulty. Big boss. The fox monster behind him immediately roared in disbelief. He was desperate. You must know that he had done a lot for Yehua's power, but now this loyal leader wanted to hand him over, which made his heart feel like a basin of cold water had been poured on him. He even wondered whether the big leader had already thought of handing him over before, so when he came out to meet the enemy, he deliberately called for him, right? This caused him some pain. As for his thoughts, the people in the conversation didn't care at all. Very good, You Yahuwah forces are very sensible. As long as you agree to hand over the supplies to me, and then I will kill the culprit, I can treat what happened before as if it never happened. Jia Yan heard that the other party was so submissive, and also there aren't many reasons to break out. No matter how unreasonable he is, he can't go to war with such a cowardly opponent. What's more, he also wants the promised compensation materials from the other party. But Master Moke, you don't want us to do it ourselves even if you want to execute my subordinate. This is unreasonable. Now, the person is here. If you are willing, you can do it yourself and see, we won't intervene. The leader of the Yahuwah forces suddenly had a gleam in his eyes and started to fight back against Jia Yan. You know, he also understands that Jia Yan is only a sub-level fighter. Even though his current strength seems to be slightly improved compared to when he fought with the disciples, he is still at the sub-level level. And the top fox monster he handed over was a half-star with medium talent. And what he said was right. If he handed over the person, he wouldn't have to kill Jia Yan and the Yahuwah forces would do it, right? If Jia Yan can't solve it himself, he can't be blamed. He can also see clearly Jia Yan's strength through this battle. If given the chance, it's anyone's guess whether he will be obedient enough to hand over the compensation. Sir Elder, you have seen that now I have won the most favorable situation for you. Whether you can survive or not depends on you. When the fox creature heard the big leader's words, his somewhat flustered expression suddenly calmed down. That's right, my strength is at least a mid-level talent and a half-star level, and although this Mok is famous, he is only a low-level strongman. Even if he is a high-level talent, he is overwhelming against me. His expression perked up, and then he took a step forward without fear, and slowly flew towards Jia Yan. Mok, you are right. Strength must speak for itself in the stars. If you want to kill me, then use your strength to try. I will not hold back. Oh, that's exactly what I meant. Jia Yan saw the other party coming, and then his eyes sparkled. Before the opponent could fly closer, Jia Yan had already taken a step forward, and his entire metal-armored body entered the subspace. This armor does not add much to the subspace, but it can still expand Jia Yan's space talent. He has improved a lot of space abilities recently, so now it seems that the mystery of this step is actually better than before. It is increasing. What a terrifying space talent! The leader of the Yahuwah forces over there looked at the scene with a strange light in his eyes. As a semi-star with advanced talent, he can naturally see Jia Yan's movements clearly, and even his flight in subspace can be faintly seen. Of course, this is just because Jia Yan has not entered the deep level of subspace. If he enters a deeper level, it will not be easy for this highly talented semi-star level powerhouse to find out. Then the next moment, Jia Yan's body was in front of the fox monster. The space in the subspace is different. The space may be torn apart at every twisted place, and the place where it appears will be different, and may even be thousands of miles away. The accuracy of Jia Yan's appearance is extremely precise, which shows how familiar he is with subspace. A sub-level dare to attack me first? Arrogant. Although the fox monster could not completely see Jia Yan's movements in the subspace, it could detect in advance that Jia Yan was going to attack him. Now that Jia Yan had just appeared, he perked up and fired with his claws. His famous fighting technique is to use his claws to instantly strike hundreds or thousands of times. When Jia Yan appeared, he didn't hold back at all, and directly swept out the fastest claw attack in his life. At a sub-level, what others are afraid of is you exploding a black hole. Do you really think you can defeat a mid-level talent and a half-star? You die, so that you don't even have a chance to explode a black hole. The fox monster's eyes flashed fiercely, and he used all his strength in this attack. However, what he didn't expect was that Jia Yan entered the subspace again just as he appeared in front of him. The countless claw shadows he grabbed fell into the air instantly. This space talent. The big leader of the Yahuwah forces on the side really changed his face this time. He had planned that Jia Yan would come to the Yahuwah forces to cause trouble, so he planned to surrender first, and then use the fox monster to test Jia Yan. If the opponent was not strong enough, or if there was any chance during the battle, he will take the opportunity to take action. As the leader of a large organization, even though most of the reasons for his promotion to the top leader are because of his personal strength, in fact, he has a very high IQ. The first moment he learned that Jia Yan came to look for trouble, he thought so much. Now is the time for him to verify his idea. If there is any flaw in the battle between Jia Yan and the upper echelon of the Nightflower Fox monster, he will definitely use his advanced talent and the absolute strength of half a star to kill Jia Yan instantly. Scum. But now Jia Yan actually showed such a terrifying spatial talent in an instant. It was like he had become a cunning loach. Even if he took action, he might not be able to catch it. In an instant, he extinguished his desire to take action. Looking, even the body slowly approaching the center of the battlefield stopped. But on the battlefield, the fox monster who was W saw his opponent who was within easy reach and disappeared in an instant. With a drastic change in his expression, he quickly thought of where the opponent might appear, waved his paws, and headed towards sweep behind you. But he was still slow. A metal bird's claw protruded from the subspace behind him and grabbed a large piece of his flesh and blood. Squeak. The severe pain caused the fox monster to scream loudly, and at the same time, he quickly retreated to the side. He understood that with the opponent's terrifying space talent, he was no match at all. Although he was unwilling to admit it, the fox monster was sure that although the smoke looked like an ordinary sub-level monster on the surface, he can definitely fight across levels, but he can't beat him. So the fox monster is on the run. Yes, no one said that I can't escape. If I can escape, it's because Jia Yan himself doesn't have the ability. The next chapter may be a little later, around 12:20, I'm sorry.